I'm good. Apart from being told to be quiet, that was so rude. Yeah. Yeah, people got no. I was just going to say people get that treat, don't they? Of that the pre. That's the bonus content, right? Bonus content right there. Go on, Lee. What are you doing? You looking at something. What are you looking at? Is, is it not? Are you? Oh, I'll continue while Lee gets his microphone sorted out. So, welcome to uh, Inspiration Nation. This is the 210th episode while Lee tries to sort his microphone out. This sometimes happens. We actually do this really in the moment. This is live, and this is what happens, doesn't it, Lee? And we haven't got Ryan, our technical guru, this week. So this is what tends to happen. So just bear with us. So Lee, do you want me to? So we're going to kick off. What do you want to do? Do you want to? What are we doing? Are you done it yet? Lee is
No.
focusing
Oh, there we go. I think I'm back.
back. Okay,
We're
Lee, do
good.
you want to just introduce us and then we can crack on?
I do. Do you know what? People have got this live, but I'm just going to start again quickly. So this is some good behind the scenes. If you are joining us live, um, if not, I don't know what I've done. The microphone's gone terribly wrong, Joe.
Come on, Lee, what's going on?
I don't really know what's happening.
This is what happens behind the scenes, guys. I do apologise.
I should have really probably checked this before we started, shouldn't I?
That might be a good idea, Lee.
We'll do that next
Problem
time.
in chair. Hey, whilst you're doing that, hey, Moles, thanks for joining. Thank you guys for joining. Got any questions?
There we go.
Whilst I'm waiting to go
We're
live?
good to go.
Oh, we're on. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you so much. Okay, go on, Lee. Do you want to start again?
We're on it again. This is some great bonus content for those that have watched live or are watching back live. But we'll get on it now. Right. Inspiration Nation. Hello, Lee Kemp here for another week on the podcast. As always, with my very good friend Jose Noya. Ryan is taking a week off this week. He's not with us, just me and Joe steering the ship today. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm really good, Lee. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. I keep flicking between Jose and Joe. I need to stick to Jose. That is the brand name that we are going for. So I'll stick to that. Thank you everyone out there for joining us. If you are watching with us live on YouTube or TikTok, we really appreciate you. Just @Noya_Inspiration Nation on TikTok and just search for Jose Noya Inspiration Nation on YouTube and you will find us. Hit subscribe, it will tell you when we are going live. You will hear the 5 minutes of waffle as my microphone didn't work if you were watching live, and who could ask for better than that? And of course, Twitter, just follow us at Listen to IN, Listen TOIN to show your support for the show. Right, Joe, that's enough technical difficulties and rambling. Let's get on with this. What are we talking about this week?
We are talking about, now, I've been doing this. I've been serialising this book, 7 Habits, and I'm continuing to serialise it. Because it's one that I've always wanted to serialise, and it's such a great book, honestly. I hope everyone's seen this, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I think we got to first things first as the habit number 3, so I want to go into habit number 4 today. So habit number 4 is getting a win-win. That is what this is about. So Lee, if I say to you, you're talking to someone, you're discussing with them, and you want an outcome, and if I say win-win, what comes to mind?
For me, I would guess that win-win means that you both get something from the situation. So you propose something to me, I benefit, you benefit, win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is exactly what it's about. So what tends to happen though, when people are negotiating or trying to get an agreement, what tends to happen usually with people? What do people tend to want to gravitate towards? What's the natural, do you think?
I think the natural is back to an acronym, easy for me to say, that we like to use, of WIFM, which is what's in it for me. So it becomes very one-sided as you concentrate on what you're getting out of a deal. Oh, I've got a horrible feeling you've now frozen on my screen, Joe, to add to our technical difficulties.
You're good. Can you hear me?
There we go. You're back. You're back.
Can you hear me,
awesome.
Lee?
Yes, I can hear
Anyway,
you now.
I'm going to continue. I don't know if Lee can actually hear me. I'm back. I
You're-
don't know if it's me or you. It might be me, but I don't know. So win-win. So you're just going to lose, right? So if you're winning, the other person usually what happens, they lose, right? So Stephen Covey talks about the win-win. We should always strive for the win-win, and he talks about, when we're in a conversation, when we're trying to get an agreement with something, we tend to either go for the win, so the other person loses, so we go, yeah, we feel great, and you lost, or you tend to go, oh, do you know what? I can't be asked. I tell you what, you just take that, and I'm not bothered. So so you've got win-lose, where you win and lose, but you also then lose-win, where you lose and they win, but no one feels great. No one feels great about it. So you feel, oh, do you know what? I can't be bothered. You just do it, and you're just submitting to it. And the other part of this, there is actually something called no deal. So there's win-lose, as I said before. I win, you lose. There's lose-win, where you lose, I win. And there's no deal, where you can just walk away and win-win. So walking away is great. That's fine. You can do that, which is good. But what we want to aim for is win-win, so we get a good way where both people feel they're getting something or think they're getting something out of it, which is a great way to move forward and develop relationships. So this is what I'm going to talk about, really. And I will read something out from the book. So when we are in discussions, there's something as well. When we say get a win-win, there's something called the emotional bank account. So Lee, do you remember? We talked about the emotional bank account
We
before.
have talked about this before. I cannot remember an episode number. I might sneakily look one up for you. Let's take a guess and say 73, and I'll see how close I am. But yeah, so the emotional bank account, as in putting positive credits in your thoughts towards people, that sort of area. Am I right?
Yeah. So when you
3 for 3 so far today on my test.
You are on fire.
Look
You're
at
on
this.
fire.
I pay attention to the podcast. See,
you're all over this, right? So it's literally when you meet someone for the first time, you've probably got your naught right in your bank account, but you start to have a discussion, and then suddenly, but due depending on the emotions, if you are connecting or building rapport, you're building a plus in that amount of bank account. So if you start making mistakes, people are more likely to forgive you, right? But your bank account start shrinking. But if you start off on a footing which is, like say you want to like win and you want them to lose, right? And you're in that situation, what happens then is you start off in a negative, right? You start in negative, and then if you make a mistake, they're more likely to sort of try and undo you, try and stitch you up, whatever it might be, right? So that's what we're aiming for. So what's this got to do with everyday life? So Lee, what's your potential? So I'm going to ask you, how do you go through your negotiations, or when you're negotiating? This could be with your beloved, this could be with co-workers, it could be any form of life. What do you tend to lean on, and how do you tend to go with these things?
Can I give you 2 answers on this?
Yeah, you can.
So when I was younger, I think I would very much go for the sell of an idea that has a benefit for me in it. And I think a lot of my world would have been naively with that view upon it. So I've definitely lived that life, so to speak. And I would now, in fact, there's a number of things I'm doing right now that I can't really talk about because they're real life and we're happening as we go, where I'm using that kind of mentality. There's people I'm very conscious of building a relationship with, working with, and I want to make sure that there is that kind of emotional credit in the bank account, so that, there will be times when I will not, I was going to say F up. So I'll say F up. It happens. It happens with everyone. And I want to make sure I've got those type of relationships with people where that two-way street isn't a problem and you can work together and get on well. But that doesn't happen without laying a bit of the groundwork to have that relationship. I think, it's nicer to get on with people and it makes things easier with work as well. So the fact that I can pull off 2 or 3 examples where I'm doing that sort of win-win mentality now shows me that I've moved from where I was before. And I would want to, I could say, that's what I do, I put this stuff in place, but it's most definitely not always been the case. And I think that's an important message to people. You can start working on this now. It can become you even if it's not. And having lived both sides of the fence, you get better results and you just feel better as a person in doing it this way as well, I think. Probably
Yeah,
a
I think
long
you're
answer
right.
there.
No, you're right, because you do feel better as a person, don't you? Because if you can both get a win of it, you both go away thinking, oh, I got a good deal there. We both got something out of it. We're connecting, and we've got something out of it that we don't feel bad coming out of that conversation. We might have had to give something, but ultimately we've got something out of it. We both come out of a win. And so I'm with you, Lee. So yeah, when I was younger, I wouldn't really think consciously about those interactions with people. I wouldn't feel consciously about it. So now it's about, I want you to feel conscious about when you are trying to negotiate whatever it is. So if you're trying to, like, for instance, when you're trying to get a good deal on whatever service you're trying to get, I'm always very conscious about, hey, yeah, I want to pay this amount, but I want it to be fair. I want to be fair, but also I want to pay you a fair amount. But I don't want to like absolutely knock you right down. I want it to be that I feel like I'm paying a fair price and that you're getting a fair price. I think that's the way I want to go. But it's what it's also saying. It's also saying about you also don't want to be capitulated. So some people are going to come back to you and go, they want to win, right? So they'll want to do that to you. Win-win doesn't mean you just capitulate, because you're then in a win, they're winning, you're losing situation. So when you get the challenge, is to challenge that someone. I want to read something from the book which actually illustrates this point that I highlighted. So I'm going to read it out. I know I've done this before with the other book that I've read out on this podcast called the as Lee would call it, the thing, and the thing. But it's not the thing. It's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So this is what this is a really interesting story from the book. So Stephen wrote this, and I call him Stephen because he feels like a personal friend. He's unfortunately passed away, but he's left a great legacy. Anyway, here it is. So he talks like this. He says, I worked with a client once, the president of a large chain of retail stores, who said, Stephen, this win-win idea sounds good, but it's so idealistic. The tough realistic business world isn't like that. There's win-lose everywhere. And if you're not out there playing that game, you just can't make it. All right, I said, try going for a win-lose with your customers. Try going for a win-lose with your customers. Is that right? Well, no, he replied. Why not? I'd lose my customers. Right. So then go for lose-win. Give the store away. Is that realistic too? No, there's no margin, no mission. Okay. So as we considered the various alternatives, win-win appeared to be the only truly realistic approach. I guess that's true with customers, he admitted, but not with suppliers. You're the customer of a supplier, I said. Why doesn't the same principle apply? Well, we recently renegotiated our lease agreements with the mail operators, and I went in with a win-win attitude. We were open, reasonable, conciliatory, but they saw that position as being soft and weak, and they took us to the cleaners. Took them to the cleaners. Well, why did you go for lose-win? I thought you said they took you to the cleaners. They did. In other words, you lost. That's right. And they won. That's right. So what's that called? When listened to the mall owner more, then expressed his point of view with more courage, he would have continued in the win-win spirit until a solution was reached, until they both felt good about that. And that solution, that third alternative, would have been synergistic, probably something neither of them had thought of on his own. And that was the example. What are your thoughts around any of that?
It's really interesting how the person he was speaking to obviously had a clear view of what he thought was his mentality and his approach and his way, and he did like a falsification thing with him to take him through a journey and make him realise what the actual, if that's the right word, certainly from Stephen's perspective, the actual outcome was against what he was kind of perceiving for himself, which I presume would have changed his approach to what he was doing quite dramatically. Yeah,
because that was a coaching conversation there, wasn't it? It was like, what is that then? Yeah. And I love that because, that's probably something that I would have fallen into that trap about saying, well, I'm trying to win-win, but I don't want to upset the other person.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. It's not about whether you upset them. It's about whether there's a fair outcome between the two parties. And I think sometimes that's where we can fall foul because, I don't know what, I know for me, I do like to be liked, right? So that could be potentially one of those things where you could fall foul of that. Oh, well, you know what? Well, you get it your way and I'll just negate what I need so you get what you want. But then that's really a win-lose. It's not a win-win. So there is that element where you need to stand up for yourself, and you do need to say, hey, this is what I want. But there might be some sort of negotiation. But it's about making sure that you're able to express what you want in a way that the other can consider, so you can both negotiate something that works for both of you, right? Rather than one of you capitulate. If they go, do you know what, don't worry about it, you just take it all. And there is a temptation to do that as well, isn't there? If someone said to you, hey, look, don't worry about it, you just have that, it's the other way, isn't it?
100%, yes.
They may be saying that, but what do you think they might be thinking, right? They're thinking, oh, well, I can't be bothered. Look, let them win. But then they're never going to come back to do business with you. The bank account's going to shrink, and the whole thing's going to start falling apart because they felt that the negotiation was too hard. So if it's in a situation, I can ask you, if in a situation, if you've ever had a situation where you've had a negotiation, you negotiate quite hard, and they said, don't worry about it, you just keep X. Have you ever had that happen? And if you have, what's been your experience?
Where they've almost backed out of the situation?
They've backed out of it and said, like, don't worry, but you just do it your way. I'm just going to go along and just do with that. Have you ever had that?
Yeah, I'm certain. I can't think of any specific examples right now, but without question, there would have been times where I'll be trying to reach an outcome that involves other people, and they would have not wanted to be involved in it. And I think it's probably fair to say there could be umpteen different reasons. It might have been something they just weren't ever going to be bought into, but I dare say that there's probably not enough of that consciousness of the win-win being involved to have, created a better outcome. It's back to the control thing and the choices thing we always talk about. Is you've got to look at those sort of situations and think, what could I have done differently? Sometimes it may be nothing, quite often it will be, and I think almost using that win-win as a benchmark, how well did you do against that, is probably the first question you should ask in those situations. That's almost how you start to self-coach, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. And I think there's always that conversation about, don't forget, there's always that other option, though. The other option of being no deal, right? So you still can go away and say, look, we just can't, I don't want you to lose, but look, we just can't seem to agree at this point in time. Let's just take a break, come back, or just let's just don't do the deal. There's that option. I think I really like that, because I think there is a temptation, and think HHXX is asked, do we talk about politics? No, we don't talk about politics. We might do, but we're not today.
We're not smart
hello
enough for
there.
that conversation.
HH8X, welcome to the podcast. But there's a temptation when someone says to me, it's tempting to say, oh, okay, good. But we know, but that's not useful, because that resentment can build up. Even though they've said that, they're doing it just so you win, but there's going to be resentment and there's going to be backlash off the back of it. Not necessarily straight away, but potentially there could be. And again, you're not building up the bank account, right? So when that happens, what would be a good strategy? And I'm thinking, at least what I'm thinking, a good strategy would be like, no, hey, that's not right either. It's like having the bravery to step in and go, I still don't want you to lose. Is there something we could do to make this work? Or if not, do we not do a deal, rather than getting them to lose and you win? I think that would be a great way to navigate that conversation, because you're still caring about yourself, but also you're caring about the other person to get that win-win, rather than taking the win. Even then, they're offering you the win, right? They're saying you win, right? I'm not. Let's have that conversation about, let's not let them lose either, and let's really get a fair outcome. And I'm really trying to focus on that, and that's something that this book really reminded me of. So yeah, I'm taking that with me, and that's something I'm really conscious about, and I'm going to be using that a lot more. In fact, there's something going on in my life right now where at the minute I feel like I am absolutely losing, so I'm fighting to have that better conversation. At the same time, I'm not aiming to get to crush them either. I want to have this solution, which is we both win out of it in a really conscious and kind way. But sometimes you have to be harder to get someone into that position where you can get that outcome. So yeah, and that's taken a lot of takes a lot of work though. And as I say, that bank account at the minute, I'd say that emotional bank account in that relationship, it's quite empty. So it's working on that as well. So the emotional bank account and the win-win, they go hand in hand. So negotiations with the bank account and the win-win go hand in hand, and you'll know from that conversation how it goes. But anyway, that's what I wanted to cover, and that is the fourth habit.
Look at this. There's some great stuff out of this book, Joe, that you're putting out there. And it's
Well,
great as
I
well,
think
like you
it's great.
said, you can relay this to things that are happening right now, things you're putting in place, which I think is a really important message. Alongside, we didn't always know these things. You get better through practice and through trying, and that's kind of the message we wanna share with people.
Well, I think sometimes you've got to hear the message quite a few times before you even practice it, right? I
Yes.
think that's what I've like. Sometimes you hear the message, but you don't really hear the message. So this is the message I want you to hear. Like what Lee just said. When you're negotiating with people, when you're trying to get something done, remember the win-win framework. It's a framework that will just make your relationships better. Maybe you've got your partner, and you're like you're arguing over something. You're arguing over something. Maybe it's the remote control. I got no idea, but can you get a win-win out of that? Like it can be trivial things. It might be with your children. It might be with a sibling. It could be with anybody where you might be trying to negotiate something. And you negotiate every day, by the way. You negotiate every day in your relationships, in your life. Like it might be about getting a cup of coffee. Who knows, right? You could use that as a template. Use that as practice to like really be conscious about win-win. Like, making sure that, you're both sharing duties, or someone's not doing more than you're trying to be fair. Maybe you do think, actually, maybe I look back and go, this person does a lot of stuff and I'm really just sitting back. You're winning, they're losing potentially. Maybe you need to step in and go, hey, look, let me do a bit of that. Right? So again, all these things are useful. Everyday life, right? Everyday life with everybody in your life, you could use this. Not just business, it's everything, every relationship. This benefits. So yeah, thank you, Lee, for that.
That's
Thank you for
really
the space
good.
for this.
It's a really good topic. I enjoyed that, and it's something again that, like I said, I think I can think of where I'm using elements of it. So I don't think how you've put it there is how I framed it, but it's certainly going to reinforce it in my brain as something I'll start using a bit more going forward.
So this could be with your children as well. Like, by the way, this is like a big one. It's a big one, but it's hard. It's not an easy thing to do. It definitely takes a lot of practice, because we do have that. If you're in that type of mindset, either you are just giving your power away, right, or you're in ones that you want to have the power. You're trying to balance that off. So you've got to recognise your own position of power in that relationship.
Yes.
Maybe you are a leader and you are talking to a team member. There is going to be a natural balance of power. So you've got to in that relationship, you've got to recognise that, hey, that maybe my team member is going to be capitulating because I'm the leader. Likewise, in a family, you might be a parent and you might be trying to enforce that parenthood when actually you need to be having a conversation rather than enforce anything, right? We've got to be aware of the power in that relationship as well. And of course, when someone might be you might perceive someone more powerful than you. It doesn't mean you can't challenge upwards. We have to be conscious of that as well. We don't give everything away. That could be that your boss is asking you, hey, can you spare 10 minutes? And actually you've got to get away, and you're saying, yeah, of course I will, but actually you don't want to, right? You don't want to get away, but you want to get away, but you're saying, oh, my boss is asking you, but actually you've got to be able to be brave and go, hey, actually today, this is what I've got going on. I'm not be able to make it this 10 minutes, right? Depending on what it is. So it's about being brave. It's about showing people where you are so you can get that win-win. So you can say, hey, look, with your bosses or whatever, you say, hey, look, can we do this tomorrow? Is there space? Does this have to be done right now? And finding out what the parameters of that task are. And that could be family, friends, business, team members. You can apply it anywhere. And just remember that position of power in respect to this as well. That's what I just say. Anyway, thank you, Lee.
No, it's really good stuff. In fact, that itself we could probably spin off into a whole separate topic. So I'm going to have to rein you back in there so we don't run over our usual time. Thank everyone who's joined us. Again, join us live on TikTok, on YouTube, J Noya-Inspiration Nation. Just search on both platforms, hit subscribe, hit follow, and you'll be notified when we're going live. Follow us on TikTok as well at ListenToIN, Listen TOIN, and get everything to do with the podcast over at inspirationnation.org.uk. Sign up for Joe's newsletter, get some merch, all that good stuff.
Oh, one thing just before we go,
Always
I don't got
in
some
an
time.
extra.
Someone in TikTok has asked, "Are you better than Robert Greene?" And I don't know Robert Greene personally, but I've got his books. But Saint Laws of Power, there's Art of War. I really do struggle with them books. I'm struggling with them books because they're really. I just feel they're a bit manipulative. That's my own personal point of view, right? That's why. Thank you for the question, though, because. But then he's done a podcast with with the guy, the Stoic guy. Oh my God, what's the Stoic guy, Lee? Come on, what's the
Don't
guy?
start testing me. I was
Stoic
3 for
guy,
3
Stoic
so
guy.
far.
There's a guy, a Stoicism guy, brilliant guy. And he's interviewed Robert Greene, and I thought it was a brilliant podcast. And so I sort of changed my view when I heard the podcast. But still, the books don't read for me personally not very well. That's just not for me. I just think they're quite, it's probably, it's about positions of power, but there's a lot of things in there I don't agree with. But that's me. And actually, I talked to a friend of mine, Mark Drager, and he agrees with me. So it depends on the person you are whether those books resonate with you. But for me, they don't resonate. I've tried them. I'm willing to try, but they don't resonate. But thank you for the question, by the way, General. I really appreciate it. Really good. And I'm assuming it's the Robert Greene we're talking about. It sounds like you spelt it the right way as well. Thank you. Anyway, Lee, I decided to address that because that was a really good point, because he talks about position of power, manipulation and stuff like that, where how people won wars and things. And I thought it was really interesting. But I struggled. I had to put the book down because it was really not my bag.
That's a very good question there.
It was a great question.
Anyone wants answers like that from Joe, just drop them in the chat wherever you are, or send it to us on social media. Right, I'm going to wrap us in now, Joe. Going to count us down. We'll be back next week. 3, 2, 1. Inspiration Nation.
Inspiration Nation.
Catch you guys later.
Catch you guys later. Thank you, TikTok. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you.